morning, gentlemen. We're looking together in James chapter 3. We'll begin at verse 13. Y'all doing all right this morning?
Yes, sir.
It's a good group. When I pulled up, I saw good crowd. You had to move your seat? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Parking's free.
That's right. That's right. What we're going to see today, especially in this section of James, is you start to really see how James picks up the threads that he started laying out at the very beginning of the letter. And I'm amazed as I restudy James just how incredible his returning over and over and over again to a series of themes in such a masterful way, so that he's kind of hammering home this idea again about wisdom. If you want the fundamental thesis statement about the letter of James, it's the wisdom of Jesus. It's the wisdom of Jesus. So James has been around Jesus his whole life. He had come to faith in Jesus after he encountered the resurrected Christ. He realized that his half-brother was actually his Lord. And then James had spent nobody's can speak authoritatively about when this letter was written, but I'm going to imagine it's towards the end of James's life. And he has spent decades, perhaps, thinking about and meditating on his brother's words and his Lord's words. And so he is fully committed to the teachings of Jesus, and then he has spent his life integrating those teachings into his life, which is what wisdom is. Wisdom is knowledge applied. And so now he's giving the church his long, careful, studied, practiced meditation on what it means to live in and live out the way of Jesus. And this is good news for us, because that's what I want to do. Hopefully you're here this morning because that's what you want to do. You want to live in and live out the way of Jesus. And what we have to constantly take a sounding is that we don't assume that what we're doing, it sort of is our the parts of Christianity I like best are the parts that are that I find the easiest to do already. And what James is reminding us of is we don't set the standard for what the Christian life ought to look like. Jesus sets the standard for what Christian life ought to look like, and the Christian life ought to be characterized by at least some aspects reminding you how badly you need grace, and how you're going to have to repent of things that you naturally want to do in order to conform your life to Christ, and that is frequently not very easy. And so our way is narrow. The road can be difficult. It's the way of the disciple. We have bound ourselves to Jesus to follow him wherever he goes and to do whatever he says. So James is pulling these threads together around what it means to be wise, what it means to have true wisdom. And so your question this morning is, do you want to be wise? Do you? It means the wisdom of Jesus is becoming your sole possession. So we're gonna read the last verses of chapter 3, and then I'm just gonna kind of pay attention to the clock, and we may roll into chapter 4 as well, because it's the same set of themes in the first verses of chapter 4, but we'll see how we do. So verse 13, who among you is wise and understanding? So he's pulling this theme, and why don't we just go ahead and do this so this is set in your mind. Chapter 1, verses 5 through 8. But if any of you lacks wisdom, and always, sometimes it's hard to get some Greek concepts into English, and really a better way to translate that, honestly, is in verse 5. But since you lack wisdom, really it's the expectation. This is a conditional sentence that expects agreement. Since you lack wisdom, isn't that a good place to start? Isn't that where wisdom begins? Is fear of the Lord? Yes, wisdom begins with an admission that I'm not wise. It's really who is the philosopher I'm trying to think of from ancient history? I can't think of the name anyway. Further than that, Plato's instructor starts with an S. Socrates. You can leave now, man. Nailed it.
Matter of fact, we wish you would.
That's right. Socrates, who's a great teacher of wisdom, says wisdom begins with the admission, I don't know anything. Wisdom begins with the admission, I don't know anything. And that is a good word. The fool, this is what makes the fool truly foolish, is he thinks he's wise. The fool just assumes, I know. I get it. I understand. I've got it all figured out. I've got it all figured out. Really? You have it all figured out? I doubt it. Okay, so if any of you, so he's kicking off this theme of wisdom. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all generously without reproach, and it will be given to him. Isn't that good news? How do you get wisdom? Just ask God. And is God stingy and reluctant? He'll give you all the wisdom you want. More than you can imagine. Now, isn't that good news?
Till it comes with a spanking.
Well, and again, it's wisdom from above. And we're going to learn in a second. It's a very different source than us. And so, yeah, it always comes with a spanking. It typically comes with discipline. So James is starting to say this is the wisdom of Jesus, which is the wisdom of God, given generously and without reproach. We learned this when we went over this section, that although it does come with the spanking, it doesn't come with reproach. It's the devil who wants us to believe that our God is kind of irritated with us and busy doing other things and annoyed that we struggle. That's not the God. That's not the true and living God. He would love for you to ask him for some wisdom, and he would love to give it to you. And he is not going to chew you out and make you and punish you along the way. All right? So we've got wisdom here. Then verses 17 and 18 in chapter 1. Every good thing given and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shifting shadow. In the exercise of his will, he brought us forth by the word of truth, so that we would be a kind of first fruits among his creatures. So this gift of wisdom is from above, and it's rooted in the word of truth. So if you want to know the wisdom of God, you can know the word of God. And then how that shows up, verse 22 of chapter 2. Oh, is that right? No, I'm sorry. Verse 22 of chapter 1. Sorry, I was still on the same intro. But prove yourselves doers of the word and not mere hearers who delude themselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he's like a man who looks in a mirror. Once he's looked at himself and gone away, he's immediately forgotten what kind of person he was. This is the fool. This is the person who just refuses to learn, refuses to be transformed by what he's learned. So we're being called to wisdom. So again, verse 13 of chapter 3. Who among you is wise and understanding? And that word understanding means, if you've ever been around someone who's truly acquired expertise in a particular area, and they can talk about that area with a depth of understanding and know-how that really shows they've moved from just book knowledge to a real grasp of the concepts. That I'm starting to see that on display in my son Jake's life. He's in the process of getting ready to take his CPA exams. And Jake really, and he always has, he understands accounting. He's just one of those people who, when he hears an accounting stuff, he goes, yeah. When I hear it, I'm like, I don't know what any of that means. I don't, Jake will try to tell me what he's been working on. But I'm talking to someone who gets it. And I want to feel that way about Christianity. I want to feel that way about the way of Jesus. I want to be someone who gets it. And that's what understanding means. And so how are you going to put on display that you are wise and have a deep understanding? This is super important. What now?
Keep your mouth shut.
That's right.
Good behavior.
It's going to be good behavior. It is not going to be your ability to just reel off stuff you've memorized. To talk at length about all you know about the details of biblical history. And by the way, knowing biblical history, being able to reel it off, those are great things. But that is not where James's mind goes as he talks about how wisdom and understanding is really put on display. It is going to be in your good behavior. It's going to be in the way you behave. Yeah, Steve.
There's going through James, the words in it to me is so much one-on-one between me and the Holy Spirit, because it's got consider, ask, prove, and endure in the whole book. And that's me and the Holy Spirit, and one-on-one with me and him.
This has been my experience through this 40-day journey we've been doing, and many of you chosen to participate that on some level. And what it's caused me to do is I'm just paying attention to what I'm up to. I am paying attention and asking myself, now, why are you doing that? And what's the motive behind that? And
That's the consider.
that's the consider part. And that's what wisdom is. Jesus always, everything he did was on purpose. Do you live by accident or do you live on purpose? That's the question. And so, and your behavior will display whether or not you're living by accident or whether you're living on purpose. And so it's not in the mastery of a body of facts and data about Jesus, but it is that those facts and data about Jesus have been drunk into your life so that those things are on display in the way you live and in the way you behave. Good behavior here, the word for behavior means to turn again and again and again. Anastrapho, I think, is the Greek. And it means somebody who can navigate the turns of life, who gets to an intersection and knows, oh, you make a right turn here, and you go 3 blocks, you make a left turn, because I know where I'm going and I know how to get there. Ever been lost? It's hard to get lost anymore with your GPS thing. Anybody remember life before GPS? You had to use a map, or you had to follow directions, and often you get directions like, you go 2 blocks and there's this tree with a tire hanging in it, and you turn, that sort of thing. I got lost in New Orleans one time at night. You really don't want to be lost in New Orleans at night. And we wound up where we did not belong, and it was frightening. We did not know which way to turn. We couldn't get back to where we wanted to go. And so the wise person, and this is respect with the good behavior, is like Jesus. Jesus always knew what to do. Jesus always knew what to do. He always knew which turn to take to get where he wanted to go. And so his good behavior, and then listen to this, show by his good behavior and deeds in the gentleness of wisdom. And so if you want to know what this behavior is that is going to be the display of wisdom, it's going to be gentleness. Yes, sir.
I'm starting to see some with the wisdom is personified as a woman.
Yeah, right.
And also as maybe Christ.
Yes.
How does that work?
That's an important question. And your instinct is fundamentally correct that by James's day, and with the revelation of the reality of who Jesus is, that Jesus and wisdom are synonymous with each other, essentially. That the real source of true wisdom, and that's sort of what John means when he says, "In the beginning was the Word." That's this idea of the Word personified as wisdom, and the source of that ultimately is Jesus. It's the principle, the fundamental principle of creation, the thing that holds everything together. This is true, and this is what the Bible writers believed, is that the reason why all of us are sitting in this room and we're all stuck to the ground in a useful way. It's better than floating around, right? The fact that gravity is working. But what the Bible writers would say is Jesus is really the one who's holding us all in place.
I saw a study once that pointed out that Proverbs 31 isn't about a woman. It's about wisdom. If you look at the beginning of Proverbs, and all the places where wisdom calls the wayward to the foolish and brings men, and at the end you see these are the characteristics of wisdom
That's good.
displayed in the concept of the woman in the first 7 chapters. So I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, there's a whole big discussion about in Proverbs, wisdom being personified as a woman. Is there a
Because the enticements that men endure because of women.
right? Yeah, and right. So not to chase that rabbit all the way down that trail. The point is that Philip was making is, and that James is clearly making is, Jesus. If you want to be wise, you're going to need to know Jesus. And so, with that good launch pad in place, this central indicator of wise behavior is gentleness. Praus is the Greek word, and it's the same word that Jesus used when he said, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth."
Not to be construed with weak.
Not to be construed with weak. Power under control. If you want a great definition for meekness, it's power under control. Minimum necessary force in service of the kingdom. I am never using my strength to advance my agenda. I'm only using my strength and capacity to advance the kingdom of God, and I am doing so with the minimum necessary force so that no one is injured or knocked around or pushed around by me. Minimum necessary force. It is the spirit of Andy Griffith, who did not carry a gun, but led Mabel. Why didn't he carry a gun?
Because Barney had one.
Because Barney had a bullet. That's right. Yes, that's right. That's what Andy thought was. Well, Barney's got his bullet, so I'm okay. That's probably not what he was thinking. He didn't have to carry a gun because he didn't need to carry a gun. Say again. Well, and he's a big old guy. That's right. But he didn't need to. Right? He had other weapons, greater weapons. And you all know this. Someone who goes around brandishing their weapon has already revealed that there's not much to them, right? And so, good behavior in the gentleness of wisdom. So, and this is sort of what I'm going to try to hammer about, because I am just going to do the end of chapter 3. Gentleness really needs to characterize your behavior. Are you a gentle person? We used to call men gentlemen, and it was a compliment, and it did not mean a bunch of weaklings. It meant that, and that's where they drew this term, it meant a man who had learned to integrate is characteristics with Jesus, so that a gentleman knows what to do. A gentleman can do so with minimum necessary force. And so, verse 14, but if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your heart, and he's going to say it again in verse 16, but where jealousy and selfish ambition. So this is the opposite of gentleness, is really what James is setting up here. And jealousy, not merely does it mean, well, y'all give me what's a good definition of jealousy?
I want what you got.
I want what you got. Okay? So it's fundamentally, deeply selfish. We tend to think of jealousy as someone whose love for something has gotten out of control.
Greed.
But it's really greedy, and it's really self-focused. It's an attitude of self-interest. I want what you have, and I'm gonna take it. And selfish ambition. So you see how the acquisitiveness of jealousy and then selfish ambition. And so I did a little study on that. The word's very interesting. Selfish ambition is 2 English words for 1 Greek word. And it really the best definition, the most accurate definition is a mercenary spirit. Is really the word for selfish ambition here is the same word for mercenary. What's a mercenary?
Fight for money.
Yeah.
Hired gun.
They're a hired gun. A mercenary what's a mercenary's primary interest?
Staying alive.
Money.
He's fighting for who? For the highest bidder. He'll fight on either side if the price is right. And then it became a characteristic of someone who really only cares about themselves, and who's really, they may sort of portray a soldier's attitude or a soldier's heart, but really they're just looking out for themselves. And but if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your heart, do not be arrogant. What's a good definition for arrogant? That's right. So it's still this sense that I'm the most important person in the scenario. I'm the most important person in the room. I heard somebody say one time there are 2 kinds of people in the world. People who walk into a room and say, here I am, and people who walk into a room and say, oh, there you are. And it really comes down to that. And our natural disposition is to think about ourselves and what we need and what we want, and go from there. And this is arrogance, and here's how James is keeping this theme of wisdom going, and it's a lie against the truth. Well, help me out with that. Why does James say that jealousy and selfish ambition and arrogance is a lie against the truth?
Because it's self-elevation against Christ.
Okay, and in what sense is that a lie?
Jesus is the truth.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
You are not the most important person. That's the truth. Like gravity and E equals MC squared, and the constancy of the speed of light. Things that are always true all the time. The laws of thermodynamics. And you are not the most important person in the world is also true. Fundamentally true. And so when you see people who do not believe in gravity, how does someone do in life who doesn't believe in gravity?
They're
Same way I do.
They're not floating.
It gets hurt every now and then.
They're going to get hurt a lot, and they're going to hurt other people a lot, and they're going to be considered to be cuckoo. And people who go through life thinking that they're the most important, they don't do very well. They hurt themselves and they hurt people around them. And so it's a good thing to know when you start that deal, and I'm very familiar with it. Well, you're believing a lie. You started with the assumption that it's all about you. And stop. And back up and start over. This wisdom, verse 15, is not that which comes from above. Me first, mine, getting my way, what I deserve, my time. One of my disciplines for the 111 commitment over the 40 days is standing in line without complaining. And I found myself in Walmart, standing in a line that my rebel heart, I start to assess, this is not, they don't have enough cashiers. You know, I start doing that. If I was managing this one, and then God, who's gracious, reminded me that is not the wisdom that comes from above. You're not hurt. You're fine. These folks, there's just the right assumption is everybody's doing the best they can, and let the electricity's on. You got these. You've walked into this store filled with things. You just walk up and take one, go stand in line. You have the money to pay for it. There's 2,000 reasons to be able to be happy and calm and gentle and patient. You can just stand here. You can pray for the people around you. Pray for baby Eric.
You know, I just thought about the fact that if I was standing in line in an airport, you just brought this to my mind, and I was there for 5 hours. I don't fly that much, but if I was there for 5 hours because of someone else's incompetence, this is my, because people who are getting paid will not vote to pay. So anyway,
Yeah.
all of that I enjoy people. I enjoy people, and I enjoy talking to people while I'm standing in line, but just the reality of being so inconvenienced because of someone else's errors, that you have an opportunity to be a nice person yourself in the midst of that, I think makes Jesus happy.
I think it makes Jesus very happy. I think it's exactly what his character was. He was the master of the holy disruption. His whole ministry was I just watched the Chosen episode where the lady touches his tassels and is healed. Right? Crowds are pushing, and Jairus wants him to hurry up and get the disciples are worried about it, and then what does he say?
Who touched it?
Who touched me? And what did the disciples say?
Are you crazy?
Who isn't touching you? I felt the power go out of me. Stops to speak to this lady that no one wants to talk to and that no one wants to touch. 12 years, right? So that's the gentle. That's this picture of gentle wisdom.
I heard a good example of helping that gentle wisdom. There's a group of elitists that went to Cuba, and if they would just stay there about 6 months or a year and have to find their food in the night and live like the people down there, they could come back and have that gentle wisdom if that was the case.
If that was their attitude, that's right. So our natural impulse of selfishness is understandable. That's our starting point outside of Christ. But what Jesus is up to is he is doing the work of eliminating that and displacing it with something else. So the wisdom, the attitude and mindset and thinking that puts you at the center of everything, while it often makes sense to us, does not come from above. And then James is going to describe where it does come from. First, it's earthly. What that means, and it's just the word for earth, gay or gaio is the Greek word there. That which is trapped in this world only. It's an attitude that only works in the fallen world. it's a truth and a reality of fallenness. It's trapped in a world that is passing away. It's natural, and the Greek word there is the same word that Paul uses when he says spiritual things don't make any sense to a natural person. And so it's earthly, it's the kind of thing that is trapped in the fallen world. It's natural. It's the human disposition disconnected from spiritual reality. If you, yeah, Steve.
Do you think James actually, he lived through this, they're in the same family, he and Jesus were. I picture sometimes him saying, Mom, could you tell him to quit doing this and doing that? They pick on me, they think he's a little crazy.
Yeah.
And could you have him calm down, please, just a little bit, and then he, after the resurrection?
Yeah. Again, I just commend, so the only thing I'm looking at, other than my work on a screen, is I watch an episode of The Chosen. That's the only thing I'm looking at. And it's really good. It's probably my fourth time to watch it. And so Jesus goes back to Nazareth, and he's going to celebrate Rosh Hashanah in Nazareth, which is the new year. And he comes in the house, and it's just his mom is at home, and he says, "Well, where are James and them?" And she says, "They just thought it would be better to stay away. They're in Sephora's, celebrating there." So where Steve is going with that is, I think James is describing himself before he encountered the resurrected Christ. Thought he had it figured out, but he was just missing 50% of existence. It's earthly, it's natural, so there's this progression. So it's trapped in the fallen world. It is disconnected from spiritual reality, and then worse, it's demonic. It simply must be the case that if you're trapped in the fallen world and you're not interested in spiritual things, you're going to be a tool of the devil. There, you are wide open, utterly vulnerable. The door is open to the unclean spiritual forces of the world. Oh, I'm not a devil worshiper. No, you're either a devil worshiper or you're a Jesus worshiper. Those are your choices. Okay? And he's perfectly happy for you to say you're not a devil worshiper. It's fine with the devil. He just wants you to work for him. And so, for where jealousy and selfish ambition. So, James does not want us to miss the point that when that spirit of self-focus, wherever it exists, there is disorder and every evil thing. The word for disorder is just the word for very. I can't think of the Greek for it, but it's a word. It takes the word stability and it adds the prefix kata to it, which means very stable, and then it adds another prefix, not. It's the imagine something that's very stable, and then imagine its opposite. It is utterly unstable, chaotic. You can't stand on it. It's constantly changing. It's the difference between a thermostat person and a thermometer person. Just up and down with whatever circumstances are going on. Disorder and every evil thing. You're simply, again, left open. And the word for evil, it's a really rarely used word for evil. It really is where we get the word foul from. You ever been around somebody who's just foul? Just sort of everything they touched, they ruined. James remembers a day. The kind of person you ever been around someone who just kind of ruins everything? They say ugly stuff. They say aloud what they should have kept to themselves. They just don't know how to enjoy a moment. Y'all know what I'm talking about? That kind of person. They're just a kind of an angry Eeyore. Just a black rain cloud. That's what you are. if you don't have the wisdom of Jesus. And you'll be thinking, because little black rain cloud Eeyores think they're helping. And I was just wanted it to be better, or I was just joking, or whatever else. But here's the thing about little black rain cloud Eeyores is they don't think they're little black rain cloud Eeyores. They think they're bright rays of sunshine.
What is it, Eeyore?
Eeyore, I'm sorry, the little donkey in Winnie the Pooh.
I don't know that story.
Oh, that's right.
He's just very monotone,
Yeah, thanks for
very
those.
negative.
You talking about me or Winnie?
Yeah.
Both.
Just negative. Nothing's good. Nothing's right. Nothing's going to work out.
Oh, woe
And
is
it
me.
just sort of, oh, woe is me, and it just sort of,
If it looks good, it's about to rain.
yeah, that's right. It won't last. And so, every evil thing. Verse 17, but the wisdom from above is first pure, hagnos, free from contamination. Free from contamination. It's a same word for holy. It's utterly in alignment with its true purpose. It's the way it's supposed to be. Wisdom from above is pure. And James is really going to give us this series of pictures. It's pure, then peaceable, irene. Not merely the absence of conflict, but the presence of shalom. It sets things right. It puts things in proper relationship with everything else. So this is what it's going to look like. It is clearly connected to God, setting things right, and then gentle. Here's that word again, gentle. That minimum necessary force. Someone who knows how to bring their energy to bear in such a way that it really does solve the problem and make something better. Yes, sir.
I've heard people, they like to take things out of context.
Sure.
Some people tend to say that this is a condemnation of capitalism.
Condemnation of capitalism.
Envy, ambition.
I gotcha.
So if I see a guy with a really nice car, I can understand if you want to steal it, that's not good. But if you want to work for it and get yourself a car, or a house, or, build, a nest egg for
Right.
a family.
Yeah.
Is that where it's going?
No, and I've always wanted to take this course that's offered online at Auburn called The Moral Foundations of Capitalism. And I think a case can be made that capitalism as an economic system isn't based on greed. That's what the Marxists want the capitalists to think about capitalism is based. Yeah, right. Yeah, greed is good. But when I think a better case can be made that capitalism and liberty go together, and capitalism and liberty and being made in the image of God. So you've got this little area of responsibility over which you're going to exercise dominion and leadership, and capitalism is in service of that. You're a sovereign individual bringing the kingdom, and it's the Marxists with what is increasingly being called toxic compassion. It's this idea that we're really the caring ones, we're really the ones who care about people. But I would sort of flip, and this is a little bit of a rabbit trail. My retort is that socialism, Marxism, is grounded in greed. What did George Orwell says? And George Orwell had a soft spot in his heart for socialism. He's British and was attracted to it. But when he worked with socialists, he found they were not motivated by a love of the poor. They were motivated by hatred of the rich. And that's what jealousy is. I can't be happy while you have more than me. And so, I really care about the poor. I'm not gonna give them my stuff.
Take it from the rich guy.
I'll give them his stuff.
New York City right now.
Right. So, now, let me see if I can tie all this back together. We have an opportunity as American Christians who I rejoice in the fact that I have personal control over my resources. And then here's where the Christian element comes in, that when it's not there, capitalism is just as sinful and broken as any other human system is. What then do I do with these resources that I'm actually allowed to manage on my own?
You manage them wisely.
You manage them like Jesus tells you to manage them. And so generosity, investment. You see an opportunity that could create space for other people to do well. That's the spirit that ought to enliven it. So, but good and interesting question, because this is what James is talking about. This is boots on the ground. How do we really live this out? And so, wisdom from above is pure, peaceable, gentle, reasonable, and really the heart of the idea of reasonableness is teachable. Teachable. I'm still learning. I'm assuming that there's something to be learned. Solutions are the product of listening and learning and finding out things that you don't know. Listen, love. Listen to people first. How many times have you launched into a solution and you don't even understand the problem? And so it's reasonable, teachable. It's full of mercy. And good fruits, unwavering, adiakritos. It means not double-minded, resolute. Here's another thing that's the difference between the wisdom of the world and the wisdom from above. Well, I'll put it in the form of a question. How easy is it to really solve a problem?
Depends on what the problem is.
Have you identified the problem? Job one.
So how easy is it to truly solve a problem? The answer I'm looking for here is not very easy at all. And unwavering means seeing it all the way through. We tend to launch into things, we get all revved up because there's some need out there, and we're gonna jump into it, and it's a lot harder than we thought. It's what I love about Lifeline Ministry. If you're going to try to bring the love and transformation of Jesus to people who are battling drug and alcohol addiction, you better know you're not going to be finished in 24 hours. It's got to be all in from the jump, and with fits and starts and successes and failures and falling off the wagon, and you got to go get them out of the bar, you got to go get them out of the ditch, you got to go get them out of the jail. It's really hard. Yeah, that's what the Good Samaritan did, and the reason Jesus told that story is because that's what Jesus did. He went all the way, so it's unwavering. And not double-minded.
I think that's the hardest part, is sticking it out
Mm-hmm.
and finishing well.
Yeah.
And sticking with it, not giving up. That's the hard one.
And that again is it is predicated on this unending supply of wisdom that doesn't come from you, of resources that don't come from you. Our wisdom runs out. I'm tapped out. I've done all I'm capable of doing. But wisdom from above continues to show you how to do that. It makes me think of all of Corrie ten Boom's work after the war was over, and her assignment as someone who had survived a concentration camp was to go and show German people how to be reconciled, forgiven, and how to find mercy and start fresh. That's a pretty big task. and the unending wisdom that was on display in that kind of work is a mark of true of wisdom that's being lived out in the world, and without hypocrisy. The inside matches the outside. It's not a put on or a fake, but it's representative of the true core. And the seed whose fruit is righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. So just to round it out, gentleness and peace are the principal indicators of the wise person. That you are gentle in the way you live, so that the fruit is the things that are broken are put back together. Yes, sir.
You know, when Jesus fed the 5,000, there was a problem. He asked Philip, what are we gonna do? Feed these.
Yeah.
And he said, we don't have enough money, we're far from town. And then Andrew runs around, he probably had to go to 4, 5, 6 people for him. He said, there's a kid over here that's got 2 fish and 5 loaves. And what is that? If he had been an NFL coach, Jesus, or a collegiate coach, he'd have said, I can't believe y'all are so stupid.
Yeah.
You see me heal this and heal that, and you're not paying attention. He just said, have all the people.
Yeah.
And his inside matches his outside. He took those fish, he fed everybody, and they witnessed, they knew where it had come from. And in his gentleness, he did all that.
That's right. And the problem, this big problem, now becomes this big witness of the greatness and the provision of God. Jesus never said, well, you know, God can't work in this. It's just, there's nothing that can be done about this situation. Jesus' attitude was always, man, let's see what God can do. And I really believe, I've been trying to lay this out as I think back through the book of Ephesians, that really is what Paul came to believe. It's what James believed, but it's what Paul came to believe. He would walk into a city like Ephesus. You just can't imagine what these Roman cities were like. This is bad. Bad. Just bad. And Paul would walk up to the city gates and go, all right. Opportunities abound. Can't wait to see what God's going to do in here. That's wisdom from above. And he would walk away from a town, and there would be a handful of house churches, and the gospel being proclaimed. And there it goes. So your behavior, your gentle, peace-producing behavior, is the central indicator that you're becoming wise with the wisdom of Jesus. So let that drive.